Alright, what is up, boxing fans? It's Krod here, back with another good video. I wanted to make another video in reference to, should there only be, whatchamacallit? Should there only be one championship belt in boxing? And, yeah, I'm just going to discuss that topic. That there's an issue in the boxing world where there's too many title belts and it's not helping out the sport technically. And this should be like a quick video, but let's get right into it. I wanted to talk about how the sport of boxing has been downgraded in a way to have fighters avoid other fighters by having so many belts in the sport, where fights have been more popular by having one face, one name for every division. And it gets me mad enough that fighters always find that the easy way out by vacating their belts against another fighter that wants to fight them, that is their mandatory, or they just never get the opportunity because of promoter issues or contract stipulations. And I just find that to be absolutely disrespectful, because fighters definitely deserve their chance under the big spotlight. But the best fighters should not be avoiding the best fighters. The best fighters should be fighting the best fighters, and that should be the thing. I guess for my solution to this is that if there is going to be one belt for every division in boxing, how would this work out so that way all the fighters have an opportunity to showcase their skills and make sure that the opportunities are made fair? Because the issue in boxing is that people don't take it seriously enough to say, okay, here's the issue, let's get right to it and let's actually make something happen out of it. See, now the problem is that when it comes to title fights should be scheduled in a sense where both fighters have a right amount of time to train for the fight. For those of you that may disagree with me on that, where you say, oh, well, it's due to money, it's due to promoters, it's due to the teams, and yeah, I get that. But fighters need to defend their titles against the people that have been calling them out forever. So, if we take a look at it now with all these multiple title belts, all these crazy sanctioning fees, and all these dumb, political stipulations that prevents big fights from happening, how is this helping out the sport? How is it making it any better for anyone to succeed in the boxing ring to be fighting people on political occasions where the fighter, may get robbed for their opportunity for a world title, or they're not given any opportunities as much to produce, enough, progression to get a world title any sooner? Because what gets me angry enough with, multiple title belts in boxing is that fighters are able to get to a title fight a lot quicker. And that should never be like that in boxing, because, boxing should be a progressive sport where, I don't disagree. If a fighter is good enough to actually fight and give themselves the opportunity to push themselves to be a good fighter, then yeah, go for it. If you're good enough for the champion of that division to say, hey, we actually like you, we want you to fight our champion, he's interested or she's interested in fighting you, then yeah, go for it. But when you have promoters that are giving other fighters the advantage to climb a lot easier through the rankings, if not just be guaranteed a title fight after a certain fight that they win, or they just make themselves look good for the cameras so that way the fans could just say, oh, take a look at this girl or guy, she's like, or she or he's like the next big thing, you know, they're going to be taking over this division, blah, blah, blah. And that's simply not true. They're obviously being politically connected in the sense of having, you know, the right people behind them to promote them well and make them, you know, politically protected in the sport. And that's not helping out any other boxers that are on the coincidental that actually want to succeed and make their lives a lot easier. But no, you know, that needs to stop in boxing. All the political nonsense needs to go away, and you know, people need to fight on an even playing field. If you know it, like, I guess for instance, if mandatories are supposed to fight the champion, that should be a automatic, you know, mandatory challenge. And if the champion decides to avoid their fight with the challenger, then it should be like an automatic, you know, your title is stripped and you don't have your belt anymore. And the mandatory would fight the next person that is, you know, soon to be a mandatory. Or I would probably say fight let the next top fighter for that vacated belt, because that actually makes a lot more sense to fight the fighter that, you know, is behind the mandatory. So if I'm at the number one spot for the heavyweight division and I want to avoid my number two, you know, mandatory fighter, then that means that those two contenders can go at it for the title. And it basically cycles itself out where, you know, I go back down a few ranks, and then if I want to stay in that division, I could stay there, or I can move up to a different division and pursue something different because I'm afraid of fighting this particular fighter that, you know, I know that I can't avoid forever if I go to other divisions where that fighter could fight me over there. But no, like, you know, like for stuff like that may happen, you know, for a one face, one name type of division. That should definitely be implemented, because, you know, people put a lot of dedication into the sport for some fighters that want to build legacy. But no, like, you know, if the champion decides to avoid another fighter, no, that should definitely be a automatic, you know, lose your title and you receive a penalty for not, you know, honoring the I guess the title fight. And then on top of that, if there's like a rematch clause and the champion doesn't honor the rematch clause, then, you know, you should be you know, or the penalty, basically the champion should be penalized to lose their title. And I guess there needs to be like a fine, go right ahead, so that way the fight can be made for another fighter. But yeah, I would say that would make a lot of sense, because it would make sure that the fight is going to be made for a different fighter that could take that, you know, ex-champion's belt. And you know, there's no like people avoiding other people in the ring, and it just makes it a lot easier. You know, that's just how I would see it. And there's just nobody avoiding other fighters. It just makes it a lot better for the sport, and, you know, there's like no reason to, you know, avoid those particular fighters. And I mean, if the champion is going to avoid them, then take away that champion's belt and just give it to somebody else that's, you know, next in line, or, you know, the next two guys in line to fight it out for the title. So I guess that's a good thing, because having multiple belts would just mean that other fighters of those different divisions would avoid their mandatories, and they would just choose whoever they want to fight to just keep holding on the belt forever. And then that doesn't really make what the sport any interesting, because if anything, they're actually holding themselves they're actually holding themselves to a disadvantage, where they can't actually do anything to prove themselves. And if anything, they're actually just going to be hated more by the fans, and the fans are just going to say, no, just get this guy out of the out of the division, because he or she's not a good fighter, and they're not fighting good opponents. And I don't like how commissions or title commissions, politically protect fighters to prevent certain fights, being how should I say, certain fights being rigged, so that way the champion doesn't need to, operate or perform as well, so that way the champion still wins. So if let's just say that the number one contender beats living crap out of this champion for the championship fight, and when it comes to the scorecards, or if the fight goes to the scorecards, that contender doesn't win the fight because the champion was heavily favored, politically, for him to win the fight, even though that they performed like crap. That should be reviewed by some higher up commission, review board, and then when that fight goes to a particular, final decision through that, review commission board, that should, that should overturn the original decision for the fight, and then boom, that contender is now the champion or something. But I think I've pretty much made my point. That's pretty much how it should be for boxing, because at least when there's one face, one name, there's a less higher chance of cheating in the sport. Definitely there needs to be advanced testing for checking a fighter's gloves, making sure that fighters are protected, and making sure that people are not avoiding other fighters, because that's how it needs to be to make the sport more safer, to make the sport less dramatic, where people are just avoiding the crap out of other people. And it actually makes the sport more interesting. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that there should only be one title championship in boxing? And do you think that if there are going to still be multiple titles in boxing, should there be some form of stricter regulation to make sure that fighters don't avoid other guys, and title commissions are held to the same standard as any other business, to make sure that these fighters are competing at a high level? Alright. Plus I should have probably also brought up my ideas for boxing, but I'll just save that for another video. Alright, so let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you guys later. This is Krod signing out, and I'll see y'all later. Thank you. Bye.